often, about probably every 10 years or so, school districts decide that they need to completely revamp everything they're doing and come out with a new list of standards. And every time a new list of standards comes out, it gets a new name, and that becomes the new list that all instruction is based on. All the curriculum that is used is based on it. All of the tests that are given are based on it. The report cards are based on it. And so as teachers, this is nothing new. Absolutely nothing new. So it wasn't a huge surprise when Common Core came out and started replacing state standards. It was probably about time for a lot of those state standards to be replaced anyway, because they'd been around for a while. That's not to say they weren't valid, but just that's the way the education system works. What made Common Core different was the fact that it was being adopted by multiple states. It wasn't just, it wasn't just the changes happening within each state individually. One of the things this means for teachers is that when you have kids coming in from other states, you can actually have an idea of what they've been learning if they come from a Common Core state. And you have to worry a little bit less about what gaps there are going to be and what skills they haven't had yet that you're going to have to catch them up on before they can even start doing the math that you're doing. There seems to be a lot of resistance to Common Core. People want to rail against it as this, what was wrong with the way I was taught, and the way I was taught was just fine, and why are we messing with it? And kids are getting marked wrong even though the answer's right because they didn't do it the way these people wanted. Let's dissect that for a moment. When I was growing up in an elementary school, we had the phenomenon of new math. And it was a change in the standards. A new list of math standards had come out and was being rolled out in schools. And all of the curriculum was being based on it, tests were being based on it, report cards were being based on it. And it got coined the new math, and things were being taught a little bit differently, in a slightly different order, at slightly different times. And I remember hearing people complain about new math. And all of a sudden there were all these people, they can't add because it's that new math. Or, oh, that's the answer you get when you use new math. And now I'm hearing it again with Common Core. Oh, well, this is what happens when you have Common Core. And all sorts of memes along those lines. I think had there been social media and such a thing as memes when I was in school, there would have been new math memes and making fun of new math and, well, that's not the way we were taught. So, Common Core is new. It's changing things up a little bit. It's changing when certain things are taught at, in which grade. But really, when you boil it all down, it's really just a list. It's a list of things to teach. And there is actually very little in Common Core that says things have to be taught a specific way. Where that comes in, that misconception comes in, is all of the people out there looking to make money off of Common Core by selling their curriculum and their product. And they're coming up with all these new ways of doing it. The other thing to keep in mind is when those times that a child is marked wrong or partially wrong for even though they have the right answer because they didn't do it, the way they did it wasn't the same as what was required, there's usually a reason why that way is being required. There is some part of that skill set that is necessary for something else to be possible later. So if the teacher says this is the way to solve it, then that's the way it needs to be solved. Yes, there is more than one way to skin a cat when it comes to most math problems. But if the teacher is saying to do it a certain way, then that's the way it needs to be done, and there is a reason for it. So if the students aren't following directions and they're doing it their own way and not doing it the way the teacher's telling them to, then it gets marked wrong. So as a teacher, Common Core doesn't really bother me. Curriculums change all the time. Standards change all the time. Districts decide they want to do things completely differently. The only thing that really makes this any different than other shifts in curriculum is the fact that it's multiple states shifting at the same time to the same thing, which really I think is a good thing, because then when we do those things where we compare states, oh, well, this state is ranked this, 40th or 3rd or whatever, we're actually comparing them on the same skills at the same time. So we'll be comparing apples to apples rather than apples to parallelograms. Well, thanks for joining me for Teacher Tuesday. I'll see you tomorrow for Whatever Wednesday. Bye.